Hello and welcome to another video. In this video, I want to talk about the pluses and minuses of signing Matthias De Ligt. Where do things stand as of now? Well, a deal for De Ligt is moving forward at a pretty rapid pace. After failing to reach agreement with other targets and being blocked on targets like Todibo by UEFA, United have moved down the list of center backs to Matthias De Ligt. Now, they're still targeting Jared Braithwaite. They're still interested in him. But at the moment, it seems that this is a more viable deal. One of the things that drove the interest from United upwards was the indications that they were given by representatives around Matthias De Ligt that he would be available at a much more reasonable fee than originally thought. The price that's been quoted as of now is around 50 million euros plus add-ons. However, United do feel that they might be able to get a deal a bit lower and are aiming to get something closer to what they offered for Braithwaite, which would be in the 35 plus 7, 35 plus 8 range. They think that is potentially feasible, but negotiations are ongoing with Bayern and fairly fluid. In terms of the wages, they also understood that the overall wage package for De Ligt would not necessarily be as big as originally thought as well. Reportedly, it's over 280, 260,000 pounds a week. But this may include a lot of incentives, and they may be able to get a deal done with him in the range of closer to 180 to 200,000 a week. Now, for a 24-year-old, near 25-year-old with a lot of big experience, this is not a bad price, and this makes it a much more palatable deal. The concerns would be, of course, in his situation, well, why is he not making it at Bayern? Why are they trying to get rid of him? And some injuries that he's had. But let's break it down and talk about the pluses and minuses of a deal for Matthias De Ligt. Comparing him to Rafael Varane, Matthias De Ligt holds up quite well in many different areas, especially when it comes to his on-ball qualities. He has one of the highest percentile rankings for progressive carries. He's involved a lot. He's a strong tackler. He contests a lot of aerial duels, so we'll talk about that in a minute. His passing percentages are very, very good. So he is a good passer, not necessarily the highest progressive passer, as they're a little bit lower, but a good, solid, and safe passer. He's involved in build-up a lot. He knows how to get into attacking areas, and a fair bit of his aerial duels winning are in attacking areas, attacking set pieces, offensively, things like that. And that is something that we need. He's decent in terms of volume of defending, not high there, but these are all good qualities. He's obviously an extremely competent passer, on-ball player, and a good defender. So those are the positives that we see with Matthias De Ligt, and that's what I would list out. His on-ball qualities in carrying, his passing is safe and competent, and he is an aggressive defender who has good tackling numbers and will put in a solid tackle. When you're looking at him compared to Rafael Varane, those are some of the areas he's going to be better in. You probably think he's better on the ball, better in the build-up, and better, playing within the team and structure in that setup. So those are the areas you'd expect to see improvement from him. And areas where I do think it makes sense having someone like him in there. I don't think he's as good as Lisandro Martinez in his passing for sure, but he is a good carrier, solid there. He's got a physical frame and won't get bullied off the ball very easily. So these are a lot of good things about him. So based on all of that and looking at the numbers, you probably look at this and say, well, Matthias looks like a great signing. I see nothing wrong with this. There's no real red flags. He's good at pretty much everything. Very few areas where he's underperforming, especially compared to Rafael Varane. They're a little different, but let's pull up some stats and take a look. And I think we'll find where the concerns are specifically, and they might be different than you think. So when we look at these stats, again, you might look at this and say, you know what? I don't get it, James. He looks great. There's great numbers, big numbers on all of this stuff. A lot of this is fantastic. And you'd be right. But we start to see a little bit of a problem that I do want to highlight, and this is the negative for me. Firstly, when we look at aerials, this is what we can really see in this set of statistics. While Matthias De Ligt engages in a lot of aerial duels, his percentages is a bit lower. A full 20% lower, in fact. And while United are struggling on set pieces, that is a downgrade. Not having someone of Rafael Varane's impressive 80% aerial duel win rate, which is matched by Harry Maguire, would be potentially problematic for bringing De Ligt in and could weaken United in an area where they're already poor. With Lisandro Martinez not being the best aerial duel due to his size, with Casemiro potentially being out of the team, who actually is a good aerial defender, and Ugarte coming in, who is not bad, but not great at it, and a fairly small midfield pairing of him and Mainu being the most likely, you might want to see some better percentages here. But that isn't the only problem with that. It's also about partnerships and complementary profiles. When we look at Manchester United's back line, and we look at that center back pairing especially, and some of the great pairings over the years, you would see that there are generally two different profiles of center backs in there. One is usually the front foot defender, getting aggressive, stepping up to win the ball high, to intercept, to break up play, to get involved. And one who is usually a bigger, taller, faster sort of sweeper center back to get behind. And that dynamic worked very well. You can think with Rafael Varane and Sergio Ramos. You can think with Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand. Some of the best pairings ever have matched this kind of profile. It's no surprise, of course, that Lisandro and Varane were the preferred partnership. And when they played together, did very well. We struggled without them, and they formed a good basis for those complementary profiles. Gerard Braithwaite as a target makes sense to fit right in for Rafael Varane, a tall, fast, physical player who is good at running into spaces and defending in those areas. But Matthias De Ligt is quite different, and in fact may look quite a bit more like Harry Maguire in terms of the way and style that he plays. This partnership, of course, was doomed from the start after losing 4-0 to Brentford and being quickly replaced and changed, which did help to turn around the season. This isn't an indictment on their abilities because both Lisandro and Maguire have had very good moments for the last couple of years, but that they cannot play together very well. If we take a look at where Matthias De Ligt tends to recover the ball and also where he tends to make tackles, you can see that it's a pretty flat, even line there where he's not getting and dropping in very deep. And when he's making tackles, he tends to push up pretty high with a lot of his tackles. And it's not necessarily a high volume, but it is similar with his interceptions, pushing up into higher areas. Some of that is simply due to a high line, so I'm not making necessarily complete and utter statements with this, but it is stylistically where he is strong, attacking forward. That also happens to be, by the way, the strength of Manuel Ugarte, running towards the play and attacking and coming up. When we look at Rafael Varane in the same kind of map of ball recoveries, we can see that it's a bit more spread out over the back line, deeper forward, and that is because he is often moving backwards in playing defense. Not to say he doesn't challenge players, but he is a bit more of a sweeper in that regard. So the main concern there is not so much about the quality of the player, but whether he really matches what United need. Would he be doing the same as Lisandro, stepping up aggressively into the midfield, in behind the fullbacks, winning the ball high, breaking up play? But what happens when the ball gets in behind? What happens when it beats that first line of defense? Who is there chasing after it? Matthias De Ligt is not slow, but he is not fast. He is not in straight line speed going to keep up with the likes of other sweepers at clubs such as Manchester City, with Kyle Walker, who, yes, does so from the right back position, with Van de Ven from Tottenham, with Saliba from Arsenal, all players who are faster over longer distances than Matthias De Ligt. Rafael Varane, of course, was known for his speed and pace as well throughout most of his career. So these would be the concerns stylistically. Are they complementary profiles? Do they suit each other? If you were to also bring in a Gerard Braithwaite, then you start to have some profiles that are pretty interesting because you could play him with Lisandro and you could play him with Matthias De Ligt, and it would make a lot of sense. At the same time, you would struggle to play Matthias De Ligt with Harry Maguire for the same reason as Lisandro, and the pace would not be there. And so I don't really see a road for Maguire to stick around in the future and have significant minutes in this case. In that respect, I would say if you're going to make this signing, it would be sensible to move on Harry Maguire and bring in Gerard Braithwaite. Victor Lindelof is not that fast, but he is a sweeper defender who does complement these pairings better. So it maybe makes a little more sense to keep him, though I think Harry Maguire is a more significant and a better player, but he also may be more valuable and allow you to make that move. The final concern, of course, with De Ligt would be a somewhat growing list of injuries, including multiple knee ligament injuries last season, which I think you can't totally overlook. But if you're getting him on good wages and you don't think those are an issue, then you can mitigate that risk. So those are my thoughts on the transfer overall. This one is looking like it is moving towards happening for quite a number of reasons, but we will see following the talks with Bayern. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next video.